Okay, so once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the session. Today we'll be looking at the types of industries. Remember, guys, whenever we talk about industries, we are talking about those companies or those businesses that are focused on producing something or that are focused on manufacturing. So, in other words, whenever you hear the term industry, just know that there is manufacturing involved. It is to something to do with manufacturing. So we usually classify industries as part of the secondary sector because remember, guys, we say that the secondary sector it is the economic sector that is responsible for the manufacturing of raw materials. So basically, the raw materials that are coming from the primary sector, raw materials such as maize, raw materials such as farm products or crops, raw materials such as fish, all of those they are coming from the primary sector and they need to be processed and they need to be manufactured by the industries so that they can have more value or they can cost more. So basically, the types of industries are part of the secondary economic sector. So as I've already said that the types of industries are part of the secondary economic sector, it is because they are associated. So they are mainly associated with the manufacturing of value-added goods from the raw materials. Remember, guys, when I explained the sectors of the economy, I told you guys that raw materials are made or they are extracted at the primary sector. The primary sector is the one that extracts the raw materials from the earth or from the surface or from the sea. Okay. But now those raw materials, they have less value, okay, because they have not yet been processed. For example, if someone is having some beans in their house, okay, they are planting some beans in the primary sector. They are planting some beans. If they sell those beans, they will sell them at a lower price compared to if the beans are being processed. Okay, but if it happens that the secondary sector comes and takes those beans and then processes them, maybe it makes some tinned beans or something like that, they are going to cost more because now they now have got more value. So basically, that's the responsibility of the secondary economic sector. That's the responsibility of the industries to be able to manufacture goods that have got more value from the simple raw materials that are being extracted at the primary sector. So there are 7 main types of industries that we have. We're going to have an overlook of each and every one of them and the different properties are associated with each and every type of industry. So this is just a flow chart for you if you may be a visual learner. This is just a flow chart that would easily help you to have the grasp of all the 7. So we have got heavy industries, we have got light industries, we have got raw material orientated industries, then we have got market orientated industries. We also have got footloose industries, ubiquitous, as well as the bridge industries, or they can call them the back of bulk industries. So in total, we have got 7 main types of industries. Okay, so they are classified into 7 main types. So let's now look at the properties of each and every industry so that you can have a big idea on actually which industry does this and what is their location, what do you expect from them, what is their contribution to the economy, all of that. So let us start here with the heavy industries versus the light industries. Okay, so the first type that you can compare, it is the heavy industries and the light industries. So these two, the heavy industries and the light industries, these two are opposites of one another. So whenever you think of the characteristics of a heavy industry, you just need to make an opposite of them whenever you talk about light industries. Okay, so the heavy industries, as displayed here by the picture, these produce goods in bulk. So heavy industries are more focused on making goods in bulk. They do not just produce small products, they do not produce small goods, but they make a lot of goods at the same time. They make the goods in bulk. Think about the industries that produce cars. Think about the industries that processes coal. Think about the industries that do all of that heavy work. That's why we call them heavy industries, is because they produce many goods at the same time, or they produce goods in bulk, in simple terms. But contrary to that, when you look at the light industries produce small products. So in light industries are focused on just small products. Maybe they are making some pens, or they are making some books, or they are making they are processing some wood to make some paper or something like that. So all of those are small products. So that's the first difference between the heavy industries and the light industries. Okay. Note that we are comparing both the two, but at the same time we are listing their characteristics. Okay. So in light industries, they produce small products, those products that don't really require heavy industries. Okay. So the light industries, they are producing your small things that you use each and every day. A company that is producing some pens and your books and your stationery, all of those companies, they are just producing small products. But a company producing cars, a company producing a processing coal, or maybe a company producing certain steel or alloy or something like that, those are what? Those are heavy industries, because they produce goods in bulk. Not only is that the difference, but we only have another difference between heavy industries and the light industries. The heavy industries are located on the outskirts. So basically, remember when we did settlement geography, we talked about the urban area, the urban profile. So you already know the term outskirts. But just to give you a reminder, the term outskirts, we're simply talking about the areas that are far away from where people are staying and doing their business activities. So in an urban profile or in an urban area, those are the places that are far away from the town, that are far away from the city center, that are far away from the residential areas. So the heavy industries are located on the outskirts. They are actually located far away in such a way that they should not be in town. There is a reason for this, and I'll just give you the reason. It's because the heavy industries produce a lot of noise and air pollution. So this is the reason why heavy industries are located far away from the city. That's why they are located in the outskirts, is because they usually produce a lot of noise and air pollution. I mean, look at this picture, guys. This picture here is showing an industry releasing large amounts of smoke, and this smoke has got carbon dioxide, of course. So they do pollute the air with greater extent, because whenever you are processing minerals or processing steel or processing metals, that requires a lot of machines, a lot of burning, a lot of burning most of the times. You need to kind of go to YouTube and watch videos on how they process gold and how they process metals and alloy and steel. Whenever you look at the process of a mineral processing, there's this thing known as mineral processing. It requires you to burn the iron. Remember, guys, iron, we're talking about in same, like the metals are very strong. You know that they are hard to easily melt and burn down. So they require large amounts of heat. They require large amounts of chemicals and processing. And all of that releases some smoke, and that smoke tends to have some carbon dioxide, which usually pollutes the air and usually results in global warming. Because remember that whenever we've got more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, that carbon dioxide, it actually traps more heat whenever the sun comes, and then we'll end up experiencing like a very big rise in temperature over the globe. So basically, heavy industries, they must be located far away from the city center. They must be located in the outskirts. Questions can come to you, grade 1240. Give a reason why the heavy industries are located far away from the outskirts. It's primarily because of this reason. They produce a lot of noise and air pollution. But now, contrary to that, when you look at the light industries are located closer to the CBD. They are located closer to the business districts. They are located closer to where people are staying. It's because they are light industries. They do not produce any pollution. or they produce less pollution. So small industries or light industries, they don't really usually burn a lot of things. They don't really need to process a lot of things in such a way that they will end up releasing smoke. No, light industries, they just produce your smaller products. So they don't really need heavy machines that will release a lot of smoke. They don't really need any combustion or anything. So such are known as light industries, and they don't need to be far away from the CBD. They need to be closer to the CBD. Light industries are easily accessible. You can just go to a light industry and get whatever it is that you want from them. Okay, so light industries, they don't really release any pollution. Hence, it is safer for them to be located closer to the CBD or to be located in a region where there are people. Okay, and then when we look at the examples of heavy industries, as I've already been mentioning all along, that heavy industries are usually associated with iron and steel and tar production. So these are the three main. So iron production, when they are producing iron ore, when they are producing iron to be able to use in machinery, to be able to use in building ships and all of that, especially here in KZN. Here in KZN, they are busy building ships because we're in a coastal area. So basically, there's a lot of companies that are processing iron and that are processing steel because those are essential metals that are usually used to be able to produce many technologies, especially the automotive technologies, your cars, your jets, your whatever it is. It requires materials, and those materials are processed at the heavy industries. So heavy industries, they usually involve processing metals, especially iron, steel, as well as producing some cars, as well as producing any other thing, such as ships and boats. All of that they will require to be in a setup like a heavy industry or in a heavy industry setup. All right. So for the light industries include panel beating. When you take your car for panel beating, to those who know what panel beating is, maybe your car it actually maybe it bumped into a wall or something like that, and it now need to be repaired. You just go for a panel beating. You don't really need to burn anything. There's no pollution required there that is being released. Okay. Even clothes manufacturing is an example of a light industry. The people who are sewing some clothes, the people who are making our fashion so that we can be able to look good there in the community, those people, they are part of the light industries because they simply produce those small products without any pollution being released into the atmosphere. Okay, we are talking about clothes, we're talking about shoes, and the people that manufacture furniture, as well as also consumer electronics. We're talking about your electronics and your home appliances, people that are making your air fryers, people that are making your phones. Those are light industries. They don't really produce any pollution, and those are known as light industries. So, grade 12, may I please hear from you? Are we still together on the differences between the heavy industries and the light industries?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, those are the first two types of industries that we're supposed to cover. Now, let us go to another two. So these two, we are going to compare them on another criteria. So this is going to be industry number 3. This is going to be industry number 4. So we have got a raw material orientated versus a market orientated industry. So we have got some industries that are known as raw material orientated. Others are known as market orientated industries. So we are comparing these two because they have similar properties, or they've got like contrasting properties, just like a heavy and a light industries. They are like opposite to one another, right? So that's why we compared them. So that's why I'm listing them like in two twos like this. So now going to this one, the raw material orientated industries are those industries that are located closer to the source of the raw materials. So they're located closer to the source of the raw materials, so that they can be able to reduce the costs of transportation of the raw materials. Remember, guys, that here we are in the industries. The secondary sector is manufacturing some products from raw materials. So basically, raw materials usually needs to be transported from where they are extracted. Remember, guys, raw materials are extracted by the primary sector. Maybe if I want to make some maize, or maybe I want to make some maize meal, I need to get a farmer who's making some maize, and then I take their maize and then I start processing it. Imagine if my industry is there in Gauteng and the farmer of the maize is somewhere in KZN. That will be a lot of transportation costs. Okay, there are a lot of transportation costs that are involved in transporting the raw materials, which is the maize, from KZN to Gauteng. So usually, to reduce the transportation costs, we have these raw material orientated industries. The raw material orientated industries, those ones, they recognize what their raw materials are very costly to transport, or they are very expensive to transport. For example, here, the people that are making your paper, the one that you use to be able to write on, okay, you also the type papers and all of that, they require wood, because paper making is like coming from wood, right? Wood that is being made into a pulp and all of that. So they recognize with no man, it is very, very expensive to be able to transport wood from the forests. Okay, it is very expensive to be able to transport the wood from the forest. Hence, they rather locate themselves closer to the wood so that they can just process the wood right there and there. Yes, Sam, what's your question?
So, sir, even those people that are about fisher, like fishing and selling the product, falling under raw materials orientated.
No. Those people that are fishing and selling the products right there, they are not really industries. Remember, the catch behind the term industries means that you are processing, you are manufacturing those raw materials, you are turning them into value-added goods. So if I just go and I fish some fish from the sea, I'm doing a primary economic activity. I'm fishing the fish from the sea. That's just a primary economic activity. And when I decide to sell it without even processing it or manufacturing it, I don't really fall under industries at all. Hence, we wouldn't classify them as raw material orientated. We wouldn't classify them as industries at all, because those people are simply taking the fish from the water and they are selling it. There is no processing, none whatsoever, that has been done. The fish is exactly the way it was when it was fished. Is that understandable, Sam?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. So back to this one, great. So as I was saying, the raw material orientated industries, they locate themselves closer to the raw materials so that they can be able to reduce the cost of transporting raw materials. This does not only happen in these people that are transporting the wood and stuff like that. Even the people that are transporting your sugar cane, sugar mills. Sugar mills is an example of a raw material orientated industry. Guys, people that make your sugar, they use sugar cane. Usually, the sugar cane makers, the people that are making your sugar, they are the sugar cane processors, the people that process the sugar cane into some sugar, because sugar comes from sugar cane, right? The people who process some sugar cane to make some sugar, they usually locate themselves closer to the sugar cane farms. Why do they locate themselves closer to the sugarcane farms? It's because they need to reduce the cost of transporting the sugarcane all the way from the farms to the industry. So the sugar mills, or the sugar processing people, the people that are processing sugarcane to make some sugar, they usually locate themselves closer to sugarcane farm, so that they can just take the sugarcane, quickly process it right there and there without really needing any extra cost. So that's why we call it raw material orientated. Simply means that your industry, it is very closer to the source of the raw materials. It is closer to where the raw materials are being extracted, so that the raw materials do not have to like acquire some transportation costs so that they can go to the industry. And also, fruit canning is an example of a raw material orientated industry, because the people that are processing fruits, They usually take your fruits and they put them in tins, like your tins, yeah, tinned fruit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but tinned fruit is usually used for good desserts, okay? So instead of like taking the fruit far away there and then transporting it with heavy trucks, it will be very difficult in terms of money. It will be like costly, expensive to be able to transport the fruits. So instead, what do? The industries locate themselves closer to the fruit trees. The industries locate themselves closer to the what? To the fruit trees. They locate themselves closer to where the fruit trees are, so that it becomes very easy to just pluck out the fruits from the trees and process them right there and then and use them. That's why we call them raw material orientated. Grade 12. Are we still together on the raw material orientated one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's go to the fourth one, the market orientated industries. The market orientated industries are located closer to the market. So these ones are closer to the what? To the market. These ones are no longer closer to the raw materials. They are closer to the market. Why are the market orientated ones closer to the market? It's because it is expensive. All of them, they are avoiding transportation costs. It is very expensive to transport the products to the market. Remember, guys, when we're talking about the market, we're talking about the customers. Simply, whenever you hear the term marketing, we are talking about customers. Okay. So the market are the customers. So when you say that our industry is market orientated, it simply means that it is closer to its customers. The industry is closer to its customers. Why should an industry be closer to its customers? It is because it is expensive to transport products to the customers. Imagine I'm making some quarters. These are quarters, for example. I make some quarters in Gauteng, and now I need to transport them so that I can sell them in KZN, province to province. That does not make sense. Rather, let me just develop a quarter business in KZN and get my market there and get my customers there. Okay. So when I locate my industry closer to the customers that require my service or that require my products, then I say that I'm a market orientated industry. The market orientated industry, I repeat, it is located closer to the market because it is very expensive to transport products to the market. Yes, Sam?
So, sir, like also ice creams and cakes are part of market orientated.
Yes. Usually your ice creams, your food outlets, your dairy products, those are usually your market orientated because usually whenever you want to buy your ice cream, you don't buy it like from a very far away distance and then they deliver it to you. No, even Mr. D Food does not have your ice cream service, I'm sure. It cannot bring you an ice cream if it's not closer to you and all of that. So basically, we're talking about those type of stores. Yeah, they are located closer to the market because it's very expensive to transport products to the market. And usually, these market-orientated industries, they consist of perishable products. They are usually consisting of perishable products. Remember, perishable products in this context simply means that the products can perish or they can go bad. You know, this is food usually. The food industries usually. The food can go bad if it is not refrigerated usually. For example, if I take a yogurt, let me just say I'm making a yogurt, Bliss yogurt. That Bliss yogurt, ladies and gentlemen, it needs to be like sold. It needs to be refrigerated for a long time. And then whenever you buy it, you're going to see the instruction. They will say that keep this thing refrigerated when you open it. So basically, the market-oriented industries, they usually have such products, those products that actually require a lot of refrigeration, those products that are perishable, those products that we know they're going to go bad if they do not get refrigeration or if they do not get heat or something like that. So these perishable products, the problem with them is that they may perish or they may go bad. The food can just become a mess if it is transported over longer distances. So imagine I'm here, let's just say I'm here in Durban, and then I'm having a whatever, let me just say I'm having a chicken business. I'm frying some chicken and frying some chicken and frying some chicken. That chicken that I'm frying, ladies and gentlemen, if I want to sell it like over long distances, I move from Durban and I go to Cape Town, like with that chicken will go bad on the way. That is why I would never make such a decision. Rather, let me just sell the chicken to local people. Let my customers be around me. If it happens that my customers are in Cape Town, I need to develop my industry in Cape Town. I need to be closer to the customers. I need to be closer to the market. That way, I will be able to reach the customers easily so that whenever they want to purchase the perishable products, they can just purchase them while they're still fresh. Hence, we say that we've got examples of market-oriented industries as the dairy products ones. Are we still together, grade 12s?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go to industry number 5 and number 6. So industry number 5 and number 6. Almost done. So these ones are very simple to understand. Is the footloose industries and the ubiquitous. So the footloose industries, these ones, this is the type of industry that is comprising of highly skilled people. So there are industries that have got people that are highly skilled. Okay, these are usually, we can say that they are part of the, they are part of the secondary sector, but usually those usually fall to the quaternary sector because they offer services that are like high services. We don't really call them products usually, but we can just call them an industry. There's no problem with it. So a footloose industry comprises of highly skilled people with expertise. You know, those future you guys will become future skilled people. Maybe you go to your universities or your tertiary institutions. You go get maybe an IT degree, or maybe a computer science degree, or maybe you get a degree whereby you'll be able to have some skill, a critical skill. For example, in South Africa right now, the skills that we are critically in shortage of include those skills in tech industries, especially robotics, tech industry, software development, all of those. So such industries, they are known as footloose industry. And one thing that interests me about this whole thing is that I'm also part of a team. I can say I am part of a company as well that is a footloose industry. We work with software development, we work with designing, we work with researching. All of that is part of my work as well. So it makes it easier for me to relate. But basically, the footloose industries, they usually comprise of people that are highly skilled. Examples, as I've already stated, we have said we have got software development, those people that are making your websites. When you see a website, Lapa, and then you search google.com, and then now you see your Google there. Maybe you search www.what.com, and then you see a certain website. All of that is part of those footloose industries, okay, that are making, footloose industries are the ones that are actually making that software, that website design. They are also involved in deep research as well. They research quite a lot of things, especially those people that are in science, in the science field. They are involved in research and designing and critical thinking and developing some solutions. So it's a footloose industries. Then we go to the ubiquitous. The ubiquitous industries, nothing much about them. It's just that these ones can be found anywhere. Their location is not dependent on anything. They don't really need to be closer to the market per se. Your SIM card stores. For example, in this image, you can see that we have got Vodacom here. Vodacom is found anyway. Vodacom is just found anyway. It doesn't really need to be like in a specific place or something, but it is found anyway, right? So your examples, your cell phone companies. Cell phone companies are usually examples of ubiquitous industries. Their location doesn't really depend on anything. They don't really need a lot of raw materials, which they now need to locate themselves in a specific place. All of that. They're kind of free, these ones. They are very free to do however they want. Are we still together, grade 12?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All
Yes.
right. Awesome. So now the last industry, which is industry number 7, this one I'm not going to compare it to any one industry. So this is the break of bulk industries. The break of bulk industries are otherwise known as the bridge industries. So whenever you hear the term break of bulk or you hear the term bridge industry, they are referring to exactly the same thing. So the break of bulk industry is kind of like a secondary industry. It is a type of a heavy industry, actually. So since you already know what heavy industries are doing, you already know that they are processing quite a lot of things, they are releasing pollution, all of that. So a break of bulk industry is also a heavy industry as well. But this heavy industry, what is so special about it, Uzi, we had to like give it its own name or something. The heavy industry here, known as the bridge industry or the break of bulk, it is located between the source of the raw materials and the market. So this one is actually a balance between a raw material orientated and a market orientated industry. How do I mean? Remember, I said Uzi, the raw material orientated industries, they are located closer to the raw materials so that they can reduce transportation costs, right? And then we say Uzi, the market orientated industries, those ones are located closer to the market so that they can avoid the transportation costs as well. So the break of bulk industries, aka the bridge industries, they are found right in between the raw materials and the market. They are found between the raw materials and the customers. For example, your sugarcane mills. A sugarcane mill can also fall under a raw material oriented industry as well. It can also fall under that as well. So usually we have got your raw materials here. Okay, we've got your source of raw material somewhere here. Let me just say this is the source of raw material. And then we have got the break of bulk industry in between. So we have got a break of bulk industry. Let me just say we have got a bridge industry here, the industry that is processing the raw materials. And then next to it, we are going to have the market, or we are going to have the customers. Okay, the market is the customers, the people that are purchasing. So basically, the raw materials are extracted here at their source. Maybe it's a farm or something. For example, let me just say, for example, if we take a sugarcane farm extracts some sugarcane, right? So a sugarcane farm is the source of raw materials. And then the bridge industry here, it is the sugarcane mill. So this one is the sugarcane mill. It's the one that is processing the sugarcane. Like, for example, Tongaat is one of the companies that I know closer here that it processes a sugarcane as well. And then now when the sugarcane has now been processed to make some sugar, it will now go to the market. So this bridge industry kind of serves as a central point, between the raw materials and the market.